y'all. So I'm just in the car. I'll wait for you guys to come in. Just putting on. So I love to put on lip plumper. I already have plumped lips, but I don't know. I just like the way that it feels on my lips, like that little tingling. Amazing. So I'm just using the Sephora brand lip plumper. Um, I'm actually in the car because my husband plays baseball, adult baseball, on the weekends, on Sundays, and they're just practicing. And I decided to come with him, and then we're gonna have lunch after. So I'm probably gonna walk around this park and just do like a nice little walk. And yeah, I already did yoga for the day, so just figured I'll get a walk in before we go to lunch. And yeah, I'm just in the car right now. And like most of everybody on the internet, I seen the whole series of Who the F Did I Marry? And like everybody else, I think we all have opinions. It's so funny. I just kind of like randomly saw it on YouTube, and I just was like, okay, like it's pretty long. It has a lot of views. Like, what is this? Who the F did I marry? And so I just clicked on it and I saw it and I started listening to the story, and then it got interesting. And so I sent it to my sister and then we watched it. It took me about like 2 or 3 days to watch it. I kind of watched it when I was at the gym and stuff like that. And the last part, I actually was watching it when I was home on the television, just on YouTube. And it was like basically near the end, but not at the end. So my husband came home and he saw it on, and then he got invested into it. So it's a pretty interesting story, but I think all Melissa, hey Melissa, hi girl. I think all in all, like the whole story is just a lesson to so many people about standards. And I see so many people saying, like, this is why I don't date, this is why I'm single. And I feel like that's just like a cop out, because in reality, a lot of what she went through could have been avoided if she had real standards and did not bend on them at all. So I just kind of wanted to come on here and kind of talk about that, because I feel like because she wasn't the only person that this man did this to. I mean, he had two ex-wives, he had girlfriends. There's other people who have come out since then and have said, this exact thing happened to me. I'm sure there are other stories just like her with other women who have experienced that with other men. I'm not going to get into that because I actually just can't take all that drama and issues with people that I don't even know or really care about. So her story was enough for me, and I did just want to kind of get my 2 cents. So the first thing that I didn't make any notes. Again, this was just a video to make right now because I'm in the car and I'm pretty much going to go for a walk in a little bit. But the first thing that I noticed with her was that and this is something I talk a lot about in my videos when I talk about dating, is for you ladies not to give up all of your information when you are on a first date. And this is the first mistake that she made. When she met this guy from the beginning, I don't know if they talked on the phone first, like, I don't remember the whole beginning of the story. I just know what actually happened. But in the beginning, I think I remember her saying they had long conversations, and in these conversations, she was telling him all the things that he needed to know that will basically set him up to manipulate her. So all the information that she gave him willingly in the beginning of their meeting and conversation, that was all he needed to play her for the rest of the time that they were together. So, what do I mean by that? She let him know off the rip in the beginning that, I'm looking for marriage. I'm looking for somebody to be my best friend. I'm looking for, this level of commitment. So all he had to do was sit there and tell her, I'm looking for marriage too. I want to be best friends with my person too. I want this too. So he can just feed into everything that she's saying and say, "Yes, I'm that guy. I'm that same person as well." So I want you ladies to really think about that. Like when you are talking to these men, Emil, hello from Pakistan. Oh, hey. Hello, hello. Thank you for being here. um, when you are on these dates with these guys, it's not for you to just give all your information like this is an interview. It's not an interview. It's you hanging out with somebody. It's you feeling out somebody's vibe. It's you really just taking the information in and not giving so much information out and allowing the person to tell you about themselves, what they're about, who they are, what they do. And this is something that he did because he did let her know, like, this is what happened to me and stuff like that. And usually, when a guy has been divorced and he's blaming the woman and he's saying, this is the issues with her, she did this to me, I'm always going to tilt my head and say, sure. I'm never going to take in that information and say, yeah, that probably did happen. He was wronged and she's horrible, right? You can never really trust men in that way to really give you that kind of information where it's like he's the absolute problem and he's the angel because he said that he was taking care of her kids or something like that, even though it wasn't his kids, and that was the situation. You can never believe a guy story of something like that. So the whole idea of, her just giving him all the information that he needed to manipulate her started from the very beginning conversations. So this is definitely something that you ladies, I always speak about this. Let the guy tell you what he wants, what he's doing, who he's about. Let him show you his energy. Let him show you how he treats other people, how he, interacts with other people and you on this date. Don't make this date about you just telling him everything that you want and that you want to see and that you're about. You don't need to do that because most men will take that information and give it to you. You got to think of it even on a date, right? Even on no, not a date. Even on an interview. If you're interviewing for a job, what do you usually do before you go on an interview? You read the job description. Even before you apply for the job, you usually, if you're smart, you're going to read the job description, then you're going to go back to your resume, and then you're going to put in all the things that they said they're looking for. You're going to make sure you have those things in your resume just so you can look good to the person, right? That's the same thing men do when you sit there and you tell them, oh, I want to get married, or I want a guy who's my best friend, or I want this. He's just going to present you with what you just asked for. So then he can have this false sense of connection to you. And people get this idea like if you talk to a person and they tell you supposedly everything about them, now you feel closer to them. This is why I tell you, ladies, don't sit there and talk on the phone with these guys for a long period of time, because you're going to get this false sense of, oh my God, we know each other so well. And then there you go. It's easier for you to sleep with the person. It's easier for you to get manipulated by the person, because even with her, because he spoke to her about everything, right? Because he was giving up all his information. He was making it kind of clear that he was being honest with her. Not really, but in the beginning, it felt like that to her. She felt connected enough to him that she allowed him to live with her. So it was this false sense of, I know this person just because he's giving me all this information. Melissa says, that's such a weird question. Anyways, I don't remember men asking me, what are you looking for in the early 2000 and 2013. How do you recommend women answer that question? So I would definitely say, like, if a man on the first date is asking you, what are you looking for? You can say a couple of things. You can say, well, I'll know when I see it. Or you can say, well, I'm, dating. And that's it. Like, that's what I'm doing. I'm looking for what I'm doing right now. And that will be the answer. I would never let him know, even if your intention is straight up, I want to get married. It's like, well, I'm dating, right? I'm not necessarily looking for anything, right? I'm looking to meet new people. I'm looking to enjoy my time. Like, I'm looking to do what I'm doing right now. Because the thing of it is, you don't want to give him all the answers, right? You want to keep mystery about you, about what you're about. And so when you're first dating somebody, you don't know if they're going to be your husband. You don't know if they're the right fit. So I'm not even going to tell you that's what I'm looking for, that's the criteria that you're going to hit. I want you to be on your real behavior. So I'll know when I'm when I find it. That's what I'm looking for. I'll know what I'm finding. Everything that you like, all your standards, all the things that you actually want need to be inside of here, not speaking out loud to the person. You need to keep it in here. And then as you see that person more and more, as you see them interact with people, as you see them interact with family, as you see them just be the person that they are, you mentally check off the boxes and you mentally put them in, like, okay, he's a viable person, right? You mentally keep these notes. You don't speak it out loud. You don't let the person know, because people, we're just gonna show up the way you said you wanted a person to show up, and then there you go, I show up. So that's definitely the first thing. And men do ask, like, what are you looking for sometimes, but if they really like you, they usually say, you know, I want to be with you, right? They're not worried too much about what you're looking for. They're worried about, like, are you willing to be with me, right? So they kind of put that out there. I remember when I was dating a couple years ago, and this guy really liked me, and I wasn't really interested in him, and he just poured his heart out to me, like he really wanted to date me and stuff like that. And like, I knew I didn't want to date him, but all I said to him was like, I'm not really in the point in my life where I want to start dating right now. I'm really working on healing myself. And then he just was like, how can you can't do that in a relationship? Like, I don't, and it was like all about that. It wasn't necessarily him saying, what are you looking for? Because that's not really a authentic question. That's just really like, just think of it like when you're applying for a job, like I said, are you really not going to just say you are whatever they're saying that they want? So you have to be mindful of that. Another thing that I kind of touched on already is she felt so comfortable with him because she spoke to him so much. Remember, even on the first date, she talked about how she kept talking to him, and they spent hours just talking. When they was waiting for the table, they were talking, and so she got this false sense of, I know this person. So when you hang out with someone and you talk so much and they're giving you so much information, whether true or false, whatever, you get this false sense of knowing someone because they told you so much about themselves. But in reality, you don't know them. All you know is the story that they told you. You don't know them as personality wise, on how they interact with you. You don't know them like on any real basis, because you don't see them in action. All you're seeing is conversation. All you're doing is having a conversation. So you can sit there and be waiting at the doctor's office and talking to a woman right beside you, and you guys get to talking about a whole bunch of things. Do you actually feel like you know that person? But we have this strange way when we're dating and we're around men or whatever, if we talk to them so long and they're giving you all this information, we feel as though, oh my God, I know them. And then that false sense of knowing him, she was she was open enough to invite this man to her house and to actually live with her. And I know so many people in 2020 made the same exact mistake. And I'm telling you, so many people who started their relationship in 2020, like in the beginning of 2020, either before the pandemic or right in the pandemic, so many of them jumped into living together. Right now, all those people I know that did that are no longer in a relationship with that person. And it got messy because you can't just say, well, we're on lockdown, we need to live together. why would that be the answer? Right? And so I was definitely confused. I mean, I'm definitely, a person who's to myself, like, I never lived with a man at all other than my husband, because I always liked my personal space. I always liked being able to go home, being able to, like, just have my space, and a way to, get away from somebody, because I'm not married to you. Why do I need to live with you, right? So this idea that she just opened up her home, like, free and clear, okay, you're gonna live with me and you're gonna pay the bills, I was just really weirded out by that. I was like, you really could have got yourself, because you thought you knew this person and you did not know them. You just started talking to them, and then now you're just like, live with me, right? Like, that's so off. And I think people just lost their minds during the pandemic. Is like, well, I can't be around somebody, so then let me just live with someone so we can be together 24/7. I'm like, you can still date somebody and go home or sleep over people's house. Like, I don't understand the fact that people just jumped into living with each other. So that was another thing, that she didn't have a real standard. And this is the thing, even before I say all of this, your standards need to be clear even before you start dating. They need to be very clear in the beginning. So that way, when you are out in the world, you have these real, like, hard stop standards. So if a guy is meeting you and talking to you and you're around this person and they, are way off on that, you don't even waste your time. But so many people will start dating, and they'll start doing these things, and then afterwards, then they're like, oh, maybe I should have a standard on this, or maybe I should have a standard. It needs to happen way before, so then the person doesn't even cross the line. And when you do have standards, men respect it. I feel, again, so many women, because we're more agreeable, we're afraid to just say no most of the time. Like, a lot of people are afraid to say no. They'll just sit there and take it, and just say, well, I don't want the relationship to end. I mean, there's so many women that I've even coached that have been in relationships with men for years, and they themselves want to get married, and they don't bring it up to the guy. They don't say it. They accept that, hey, I'm going to be girlfriend in a long-term relationship, because they're afraid to lose the guy, right? Instead of getting the thing. They're more afraid of losing the person than actually getting what they want. And that's a big issue. Um Queen of Shell says, well, when do you let a man know about your standards and that you are actually looking for marriage? So the main thing, you don't have to let anybody know your standards. Your standards need to be clear just by your actions, just by the way that you communicate, just by the way that you are. So say you have a standard where you don't open your own door, right? This is a standard that I even have, right? I don't open my own door. When I walk up to the door and my husband's with me, I just stand there, right? I just stand there. I don't have to say, are you going to open my door? He looks at me and he'll say, oh, let me go get that door, right? You don't necessarily have to say that. Now, as you get to know a person more and more, and you really can see, maybe this guy, is marriage material, or the conversation gets to that point where you're like, I can actually, see something with him. And then you say, well, I'm actually interested in marriage. I'm thinking, you talk about that as you actually see this person as a real contender for that. Before, it's really nonsense, because the person is just going to play up to that. You want them to be their authentic self before you even tell them what you're looking for. So I would definitely say, play it that way, where you're just like, hey, these are my standards and I'm sticking to it. So another thing, there are so many women who play this game of, like, when they're at dinner, they'll, like, reach for their card and probably try to pay, right? And then sometimes they get disappointed. Some guys will just turn around and say, no, I'm gonna pay, right? Don't even play that game. If your standard is, I don't pay for my meal, I don't pay for dates, like, that's just never gonna happen, you never look at the check. You never play that game. So he already knows she's not going to do that, right? If your standard is, I don't drive to dates, then there's never an option that you're driving, right? That was something that's serious for me, because for me, I don't like driving at night. It's not my thing. I don't enjoy it. So that was my standard, is like, I'm not driving, right? So there's no, you want to meet halfway. You can send an Uber, right? I make it clear, either you're picking me up or you're sending an Uber, like pick one. But I'm not driving. I'm not paying money to get there. I'm not doing any of that. So it's like a clear standard, like the whatever you don't want is impossible for you to even do, right? So you just kind of make those standards clear, and men will pick up on that. People adjust, right? They meet you, and then they see how you are, and they adjust to your personality. So if they see, you know, she's not that kind of person, they're not even going to do that, right? They're not even going to present you with that. So I hope that helps. Melissa Mills says, it's hard to accept, but people are not that nice. No one wants to hear someone talk for long unless they want something from you. Exactly. People are not that nice. That is so true. And once you realize that people mostly don't give a F about you, then you'll realize that people are usually, like, especially men, they will say something that's impressive, right? They will tell you things about themselves that they think that you will be impressed by. So usually when they're telling you something about their life, it's just something to impress you. It's never really something too deep. You're mostly going to get the most out of a person, like their authentic self, by their actions, by being around them and seeing how they communicate, seeing how they move, seeing how they like choose to live their life. Melissa says, that's awesome. How do you let them know you don't drive to dates? So once you guys set up a date, and usually, you know, it talks about like, oh, where do you want to go and stuff like that. And then usually, you know, you can say, I mean, it depends on like if you guys are choosing to go somewhere, like wherever you're choosing to go to, you just basically be like, oh, okay, like the guy usually says it, because I'm trying to think back on like when I was dating, what usually happened. The guy will usually ask like, do you want to meet there? Do you want to go halfway? Are you thing? And I would just say usually like, I don't drive at night, so you can pick me up or you can send an Uber. That's basically it. If you tell a guy that you don't drive at night, he'll just look for the solution. That's usually like real men, they'll just find the solution. I don't drive at night. Okay, cool. Like, and this is something I learned from my mom. So my mom, I know some of you've probably already heard the story, but my mom, she's had strict standards with driving. She would never pump her own gas. So I remember even growing up, it was either my dad or some other guy or other person will pump her gas, or she would go to a full gas service, but she will never pump her own gas. Till this day, my mother, and she lives in California now, where there's no full service gas station. She doesn't pump her gas. So now me or my sister or my husband will go and like pump her gas, right? So she had this strict standard, I don't pump gas. And that was just it. There was no bending. There was no maybe I'll try it. It was just, I don't do that. And so everybody else, okay, we got to go do that for her. Another thing she did, well, I don't drive on the freeway. And it's like, okay, so it's like either I'm going to take the scenic route and then we're going to get there a little later, or you can drive and you get on the freeway, because I'm not driving on the freeway. It's just clear boundaries, so you just know this is something I don't do. So as soon as you tell a guy, I don't drive at night, he's most likely, if he's interested in you and interested in dating you and actually just a gentleman and period, he's just going to give you the solution with either picking you up or sending an Uber. And that's, yeah, whatever your preference is for that. But yeah, once you say I don't drive at night, men, no problem. Because in actuality, it's actually safer for you not to drive at night in his mind, because if he thinks, oh, she might have a couple drinks, she might this, so she's like responsible or whatever, you could not drink or whatever, it doesn't matter, you just don't drive at night. Sebastian says hello, hi. So another thing that this girl, I don't know her name, so the who the F did I marry girl, another thing that I noticed with her that she didn't, a lot of people notice, was she didn't do her due diligence with really seeing if this guy was really who he said he was. So again, when I was dating, which wasn't too long ago, because next month is coming up on a year of marriage for us. So I can't believe that it just went by so fast. But another thing that she did not do is, when you meet, because that's all I talk about is dating and marrying professional men. When you meet a guy and he's telling you what he does, whether you meet him online, whether you know meet him in person, it doesn't matter. When he tells you what he does, and usually I tell you ladies, you're dating professional men, so a doctor, a lawyer, engineer, executive, a business owner who's been in business for multiple years and makes money from that business, right? Not a side hustle, but an actual business, a manager, a VP, you know, somewhere in the executive part of the company. You should be able to Google this guy. That is, the guy needs to be Googleable. Most men who have professions or businesses are Googleable. That is the simplest thing you can do. So for her, if this guy is a regional manager of a company, trust and believe you can Google him. You can find that information, no problem, because it's a public company. That is a high position, is not a lower position. That is a managerial position. That is easy to find. If she said he became the VP of this whatever, you will be able to see that. And that's the thing. If you ladies ever dated a man who, you know, is a professional man, you will see his business card around. You will see checks. Like, I remember, like, even with my husband, he still does this. He just has checks lying on the table. I remember when I was dating, a lot of the guys that I dated, men, if you ever go into their bachelor pads and their condos or houses or apartments, they usually just drop their checks on their table. They drop money on the table. They're rarely hiding it because they're the only ones who live there, right? They're not hiding their money. They're not hiding, you know, what's going on. You'll see the business card. You will see the evidence of such if he is that person. If a guy is a regional manager or a VP or anything above, when you are with him, 9 times out of 10, you're going to hear a conversation. And 9 times out of 10, he might be driving. And at that point, most people have their phone connected to their car and you're going to hear the conversation. If you're in those kind of professional, high earning positions, you are on all the time. You are constantly getting calls. You are constantly doing business. You are constantly in it. There is not a real time where you, as a woman who, if she was with him during the 2020 pandemic, she's going to hear conversations, right? You guys are with each other all the time in the house. How are you not going to hear him talk about his managerial position and the things that he has to do and the people that he has to manage on the phone? And he's not going to put it on speaker? Like, that's not realistic. And I think that she was basically not trying to hurt her own feelings and didn't want to see the truth, because I'm telling you, once a guy would tell me this is what he did, this is who he is, Google would have been so fast. I want to see that business. I want to see if you're a business owner, I want to see your website. I want to see everything that you said that you were on that. And most of those men have LinkedIn accounts. Like, it's very rare that you meet a professional guy without a LinkedIn account. Like, the company wants you to have a LinkedIn account. So it's very rare that you meet a professional guy and he doesn't do any networking events. It's very rare that you meet a professional guy and there is no Zoom meeting. Like, we're talking 2020, right? There was probably so many Zoom meetings happening during that time that if she was living with this guy, she would have been able to see this clear as day. So if you have a standard of, you know what, I meet a guy, he tells me what he does, he tells me his full name, I need evidence, I need to see it, I need to see proof of funds, proof of who you are, proof of all of this, I need to look you up. You don't have to do a full background search, but you definitely need to look the person up and see some professional something on there. And if you don't see that, red flag. If a person doesn't send you their professional, like most people who are professionals, they have business cards. They just do. I know people think like we're in technology now, people don't have business cards, they don't shit. I go to so many events with my husband. Everybody has a business card. Everybody is eager to give you their business card because there could be business there, right? You meet a lot of people, especially if you work for a company. The company provides you with business cards automatically, right? As soon as you get hired there, they set up for you to get business cards. And he, holding regional manager position, would have had a business card. Him being VP would have had a business card. You should have seen that. She didn't. Another thing that this is something with standards, right? And this is something that ladies need to remember, especially when you're, even before you accept a proposal, but even after you accept a proposal, because you can just accept a proposal, get the ring, and then, you know, you can call off the wedding. It doesn't matter. But before you get married, you ladies need to know proof of funds. It's so funny because in her situation, the realtor said, hey, before we even work together, I need to have proof of funds. And everything that you do in America, because I live in America, you need proof of who you are, the money that you claim to have, for everything. You never just go in and say, oh, well, let's see what happens, right? This is your life we're talking about. So I know when me and my husband, before we got married, my husband's a very open person. He opened the books even before we got engaged. He showed me, we had a meeting with his financial advisor, with his tax guy. He's like very much like that. My husband is an attorney, so he's on it. You know, he's like, we got to have all the paperwork right, everything. This is what we got going on, this is how much we have in brokerage, this is how much in investments, this is how much in insurance, this is how much, you know, in the house, this is the equity in the house, this is this. He set that all up to make sure that I knew exactly what was going on. This is what will go to you, this is what we'll set up. So most professional men, if your husband hasn't done that or didn't do that, you need to find that out now. But if you're in a relationship and you're going to get married to somebody, you need to make sure you get proof of funds. If he has a financial advisor, he needs to set up a meeting with you and the financial advisor so he can show you what he actually has. If he's in debt, what his liabilities are, what are his assets, what will be, you know, community property, what will set up, what you will have once you marry, what are you inheriting through marriage. This is something that you need to know, because I feel like people get so caught up in the idea of, oh my God, marrying for love and marry, and we're in love and in love and love. And so now just because you're in love, you have to be stupid. No, you can't be stupid while you're in love. You have to say, well, we all know love fades. We all know love is conditional sometimes. And more often than not, it's conditional. So there is no way that I'm going to just bet my life on love alone when I'm dealing with another person. So you always need to have proof of funds. And for her, so many people were asking him for proof of funds and he was refusing that. And that should have been like, hey, that's my standard. That's a hard standard. I need to know off the rip before I marry you that you have money. Now she was pregnant. So you got to crack open the books. You know, we need to see what's actually what we're working with, and not a screenshot, not a printout. I need you to log in. I need to talk to the financial advisor. I need to see, you know, your investments. If you don't have a financial advisor, I need to see, you know, your brokerage account or your investments or your like, I need to see these things. I need real proof, and not here, let me here. No, let's get on the laptop. Let's sit beside each other. Let's see what's actually going on. You know, that's something. And most men, and I'm telling you ladies this, most men who are successful, they have no problem showing you this information because they are proud of it. This is a part of their resume they actually don't get to show off. So if they do have the opportunity to show it off, they do. They are not afraid to, oh no, like, let me not show her because maybe she's gonna get me for my money. Well, first of all, I'm thinking of marrying you, and if you're gonna get me for my, how are you gonna do that, right? If I set up the ways that you'll be accessible to my money, I can take it away. So at the end of the day, most men have no problem showing that off and showing you, hey, this is what I've been working on and this is what I have going on. So the idea that this guy was so secretive and didn't want to show her and only just, here, look, it doesn't work that way. Like, you need to see. And the fact that she was living with him, like, anybody who has investments, you always get the mail. You're always going to see whatever he's using. If he has a Charles Schwab brokerage account, if he's with Northwestern or Transamerica, I don't know, there's so many out there. You will obviously see the mail coming in. Like, they have mail. Like, when you get dividends from whatever company you're investing in, you're gonna see the mail. Like, this is obvious things that she just skipped across. And okay, if you don't know, you don't know, right? This is a big thing because a lot of women didn't have mothers that taught them this stuff, right? A lot of this stuff, this information that women hear from me or from other people who talk about this stuff, they never heard of it, right? Because they didn't have that coming from their lineage, their mother, their grandmother, their dads, or even, right? Nobody told them this stuff. So I get that. But at the end of the day, when you're thinking about marrying a person, you really need to protect yourself, because a bank wouldn't give you money if they didn't know what are your liabilities, what are your assets. So why would you give someone, because I think you're more valuable than money, right? Why would you give someone yourself without that same thorough background checking, right? Parble says, do you believe in black magic? That's kind of off topic, but I can speak about it. I know it exists, so there you go. I don't use it, so yeah. Okay, another thing about the standards that for me was just like, I don't even understand how she even married this guy. But another thing about that is that once the guy disappointed you and did not come through so many times, there was constant problems and issues. Why did you not just stop? That's the biggest thing. Because for me, you only got one chance to not come through for me to just say, you're not reliable. You're not really that person. You only got that one time. Now, if you do it once and then you quickly remedy it and it's fixed now, then okay. But if you do it once and there's no remedying it and it's not fixed and you didn't get it done, that's all. That's all you get, because you just left it undone. So once the first house fell through, once you seen that what he was saying was ridiculous and didn't sound correct, that you should have had that standard that, okay, I'm done with this. But for her, because she already decided to live with the guy, she kind of put herself in a position where it would be hard to break things up. And she continued to dig herself deeper into the hole by staying in the relationship with the guy and then marrying him, where then legally he could stay in the house, stay with her and all that stuff. And I really want women to really, really think about this, is like, stop giving these men opportunities to disappoint you. Because I know people are not perfect. People are not going to be able to, make it every single time. But most of the time, if a person can't do it the first time, they will try to remedy it quickly. They're not going to sit on it and not do anything about it. They're going to say, I couldn't do it like this, but here's the way I can do it. This is the way I can do it. Maybe I can do it this way for you. I'm so sorry. Let's do it this way. I'm going to fix it. People don't just sit there, well, I couldn't do it. All right. Can we move on now? Like, it doesn't work that way. So I think people give people way too many chances and give them way too many opportunities, because every time you give a person a chance, you're just showing them, you giving them even more opportunity to disappoint you. You're giving them even more slack. You're just saying, okay, here's some more slack on the rope. Go ahead. Continue to disappoint me. Continue to run wild. Continue to get my hopes up. So everything on that point, like, and I understand, like, with her, she took so much accountability. So I'm not mad at her. I don't think, she's ridiculous. I think this is just a huge learning lesson. And like she said, she's never gotten an experience where a man was paying, the rent and stuff. But her rent was like under $1,000. So that is like, when she said that, like, her rent is under 1,000, I was like, girl, where do you live? Like, under 1,000? That's crazy. So of course he could pay for that. Like, who couldn't? Especially with unemployment during 2020. Like, so many people were making a lot of money. Like, a lot of unemployed people were making more money than they were when they were employed. So of course he can pay under $1,000 rent. That was not going to be an issue. But the whole idea of a person telling you, I'm going to do this for you, and then them failing to do so and leaving it as that and never remedying it to actually get it done. No, you can't have that type of standard where it's just like, oh well. Like, my whole thing with my husband, and the reason why I really was like, I can marry this guy, is because he stuck to his word. Like, my husband is under promise over deliver type of guy. He's with everything. But if he says we are going to do something, it's not even 9 out of 10. It's gonna be 10 out of 10. We're gonna do it, because that's his personality. That's how he operates. It's, let's get it done. Let's do it. And I love people like that, right? That's how I function. I'm a very efficient person, and I like efficient people. So I definitely feel like with that is like, if you allow people to just say they're gonna do something and then don't even bring it up or make excuses, because she was like, well, then she just turned around. She never really confronted his lies. She just allowed him to lie to her again. She just allowed him to get away with the lie. And it's like, for what? Because she was like, well, I was pregnant at the time. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't care about people's feelings. Like, I don't care, because at the end of the story, it was his birthday and she did not care. She kicked him out on his birthday, because when you come to that point, that same standard that she had at the end, she should have carried that in the beginning, and it would have saved her so much. But again, when you don't know your standard before you start dating, before you meet somebody, if you don't have these clear standards and saying, hey, I'm actually not going to take this, and if this person does that, then I'm out. Like, I don't care. It's not gonna, it's a non-starter for me. That's all you need. So I think that's pretty much all I'm going to talk about with that video. So if you guys do have questions, you can leave them, you can ask them now. But I think it's important for women to know, like, you cannot risk your life, risk your time, risk your energy on people and bend to their standards and bend to what they want, and just like, well, oh well, let's see what happens. That's not how it works. Nothing works that way. No company works that way. No actually efficient people work that way. And I want you to know, like, somebody else loving you is not worth you loving you. So you have to remember that. Like, do you love yourself enough to protect yourself and your interests? Because that's exactly what you need to do. You need to protect yourself and your interests first and foremost. And that's a level of selfishness that people, aren't ready to talk about. I love being selfish. I think everybody needs to be selfish, not in a narcissistic way, but it needs to be in a way where you're saying, I'm protecting me first and foremost, and I don't care if that means I can't be with you. That's perfectly fine. And it's okay to break up with people. It's okay to not be with other people, you know? Melissa says, does it depend on what it is? For example, he provides and says he's going to go hiking with you, but then he changes his mind in the morning. Um, See, that's the thing. I don't like that. But it's to your preference, right? If you changed your mind as well. Like, I don't like that. Like, cause like that's more of a woman thing, right? Cause women usually do that, because when we wake up, we're not gonna feel, cause we constantly change, our bodies constantly changing. So the way we felt yesterday, we're probably not gonna feel today. With men, it's like, are you lazy? Like, because you're most likely in the same energy you were yesterday. You notice this a lot with like fitness, right? If you ever worked out and lift and stuff like that, some weeks you're really strong because you're in one part of your cycle, and another week you're not that strong and you can't do certain things. So your body fluctuates. So if it's saying like, oh, we were supposed to go hiking, and then you're like, oh, never mind, and it's like, well, why did you tell me? Why did you make the plan? Like, what did you do last night that caused you to not go hike, not make it to what you said you were going to make it to? So for me, if it's a big enough deal, like for me, I would call him out on it, right? I would have been like, well, why did you say you was going to do it if you weren't going to do it? Like, I don't give people enough slack. Like, if you say you're going to do something, let's do it. If you're a woman, I do, because I'm like, I can understand, like, your energy may change, but most of the time, men will, if they say they're going to do something, if they're not busy, like if he's working really hard, if he was up working for a while, okay, maybe you guys went out the night before for dinner and drinks or whatever. And so, like, waking up is like, oh my God, I really can't today. Then, okay, that's understandable. But if it's just legit, like, you got ready, you think you're really about to do this, and then he's like, I don't actually want to do it. It's like, okay, why? Okay, then why did you say that? Okay, then what are we gonna do instead? Like, what other options do you have for me? Because I planned for this. So do you want to do this instead? Like, like, do you want to go shopping instead? Do you want to just go get brunch? Like, just kind of question it, and then like say, well, what else are you gonna do? Never ease off of their necks unless you don't want to go. So I would definitely play it in that direction. But I'm definitely one of those people, like, if you told me you're gonna do something, I'm now expecting you to do it. And if you don't do it, then I'm gonna question why you didn't do it. And if you hit me with some BS, then I'm gonna say, oh, okay. And then if you try to plan something else with me, I'm going to say, well, remember you said you were going to do it and you didn't even do it the last time. So why should I believe that you're going to do it? Or are you going to just waste my time again? I will just tell you how I honestly feel about it. Like, and that's another thing, like with women, like I said, we're very agreeable, but sometimes we just have to like question people like how we would question them anyways. It's like, well, you said you were going to do this, and not in a like bashing kind of way, but in a, well, a matter of fact kind of way, but in more of a like, well, you said you were going to do this and you didn't do it, so I'm not trying to get ready and you're really not going to do it. So if you're really for real, and then you're kind of calling them out, what you're saying is like you weren't true to your word, right? Without saying it, because you can say it cute, but like, like, I'm not gonna do that with you because you didn't say it. So, but yeah, usually if he's a provider and he's working really hard, then it sometimes doesn't come through like that. And I just don't work well with people like that. I dated a guy who was a surgeon, and he was definitely that type of person. And he would be like, okay, we're gonna travel here, and then he would just, say, oh, I can't make it. But then he knew the kind of person I was. So he was like, but I'll send you and your sister in my place. Right. And so he would just make it up by, sending me anyways with someone else as my companion, and it was most likely gonna be my sister, because he wasn't gonna send me with another guy. He would just say, you can still go, I'll pay for you and your sister to go, and I want you ladies to have a fun time. So that's usually how that would play out. But it's because I had that standard, is like, this is what I want. And that was like with a lot of things, like with my husband, like I definitely just have like a bunch of standards. Like even if we're gonna staying at a certain place, like when we're going traveling, it's like I want to stay here, I want to experience this, I want to experience the shopping, I want to do this. And so he just like knows, okay, this is how my wife is, this is what she likes to do, that's what we're gonna do, right? And all the things that I suggested is really fun anyway, so he really enjoys it. So yeah, so if you ladies have any more questions, the black magic question is funny. I was like, that's interesting, why even ask? Yeah, so if you have any questions, let me know. And I did want to make another video. I briefly made a video, I actually took it down, but I had made a video about being a housewife, and it kind of falls into that, and just kind of what I talked about proof of funds. So that is like a big thing, as well as like if you're gonna marry someone, and especially if you have a standard that like you're not going to have a job, right, a regular schmegular job, which was like me. So I can give you guys my own experience and my own standard on that is, so before I even met my husband, I already knew, like for a while I was already doing really well at work. I always excelled at work. I was an overachiever at work. I loved performing, like high performing, so I would always like go above and beyond to just do well in anything I did. So I was really good at working, right? But I did not like working, right? I didn't like working for another person. I didn't like the idea of having to wake up and my life be dedicated to that. So I knew that I didn't want to work. So I knew as a standard, if anybody I was going to marry, I was not going to work. That was not going to be my thing. You would not catch me working at all. And so with my husband, and by the time I had met my husband, I wasn't working for somebody. I had my own business. So by the time I met my husband, he knew this about me because I wasn't working, right? I just had my own business, and I met him through my business, and my business was something that I felt comfortable and I enjoyed doing because I was managing my own schedule. I didn't have to go into an office. It was very much like on my own terms, and the way I got business was my speed, right? And he already saw that standard, and as we got to know each other deeper, and I mean, he just seen like she's not a worker type of person, so he never expected me to work. And even like as we got to know each other and I eased off of like trying to get business as much, because I had him and he was providing and I could get business through him easily, and so I used him to get business, and so it was just like even more clear she's not gonna go work, right? When we got married, he then had me, like I'm a W-2 employee for him because I am a housewife, and I don't have any income other than the allowance that I would get. So for him, he's like, well, I own my business, and as most business owners know, it's good to hire your family. So once we got married, he hired me in his business so that my allowance that he gives me would be paid through the business, right? And that way I would also have retirement set up. I would have, all of like social security, all that stuff set up. And that way I was still putting money into those things, but I'm not really working. So technically I work, but I don't really work. It's the Anyways, when you marry the right type of guy who knows these things, who operate in these things, you will see that he will just adjust for you. He will make sure that you're doing what you want to do and that it will make sense financially for it. So a lot of people think like, it depends on, who you marry, especially, but like, if you don't want something, if you have a standard, hey, this is not what I'm gonna do, this is not what I like to do, stick to that. Keep that as your standard. Don't bend and say, like, because I know so many women who's like, well, I would like not to work and I would love to be a housewife or a stay-at-home mom or whatever the situation is, but they say, but he can't really afford that, and they bend, they do the but. Well, in this economy you need a two income. I don't believe in that, but do what y'all want. Okay, Sheree, what do you do for work? Are you quite intelligent? Oh, yeah, so I just that's so funny. I explained that. So so the business that I have had, so I have a notary business. So at that point I was working with like a lot of escrow companies, and I, built up my business just working with escrow companies and doing like loan document preparation. So not preparing the documents, but getting the person to sign it and then notarizing it. And so meeting my husband, it was actually on a signing for an estate plan. He was the attorney of the person, and we just had to notarize a couple documents, and then that's how I met him. And that's it. But everything I just said about the working situation, that was kind of how it's set up now, where I technically work for my husband's business, but I don't go into the office. I don't really work. I show up to events. Like, I do that. I guess I do the marketing side of the business. But that's just really it is. And most people do that. They hire their family, and so that way the money that I get every 2 weeks, which is my allowance, comes from the business instead of him paying me directly. So, um, Melissa, he stayed up late drinking. I am the authorized user, so I can take myself out to brunch and shopping if I want. Yeah, so like at the end of the day, yeah, that's definitely for sure. But I would give him shit about it a little bit. Like, why would you go out drinking if you know you were gonna take me hiking? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I would say something, because you don't want the person to keep doing it, right? So if you don't say anything at all, still do that. Take yourself shopping, go, girl, do your thing, right? Still do that. But give him a little shit about it, just so he knows, like, hey, if you say you're gonna do something, like, don't do anything the night before that's sabotaging that. Like, that doesn't make any sense, because I'm sure if he had like a serious like event that he had to go to and you had to be on his arm, and then you're like, well, I actually can't because my hair appointment didn't come through, he would be upset, right? So it's not that important because it's hiking, right? It's not a serious situation, but like, you got to let him know either way, like, it's not going to fly like that. Yeah. But yeah, that's basically it. So I actually, because my husband, so I'm actually in the car right now, because my husband plays baseball, adult baseball, on the weekends, and they're practicing right now. And so I usually don't come with him, only when they have a game. But he's taking me to lunch after, so I figured I would come here and just do like a little workout walk around the park. But I have to actually check on him because I want to see how far along they are. So I think I'm gonna sign off here if there's nothing else. Thank you guys so much for being here, because this was definitely random. I've been jumping on live like randomly when I'm not doing anything. I do want to sit down and do a video, like I said that last week, and just kind of get my thoughts out of things that I've written down, and like information and tips that I can share with you ladies as much as I can. But I've just been so busy. Like, I've been having like a hard workout situation. Like, I wake up at like 4, and I work out pretty early in the day. So by the time, it's like I get home pretty much like around 8 o'clock in the morning, and I like make breakfast sometimes. I just don't feel like recording sometimes. So like, it's so funny. Like, people say, like, working out gives you so much energy, and then like me, like, it's just like I feel like taking a nap after. But I love it, and it's really changed my life. Cher says, I have not dated for so long and I'm so out of touch, but I too like professional men. What advice do you have? Yeah, so I would definitely say, I have so many videos on this. If you look at my videos, you will find like what I tell you to do, how to act, what to look for. But if you definitely like and only want to date professional men, then that's all you date. Like, don't bend to that. Have that standard and keep it. And like I said, you need proof. You need to make sure that they are what they say they are. And like, when you approach this, like, I don't know, are you a professional as well? Approach it like it's so hard to talk about because I'm like, I say it so much in my videos, but like, approach it the same way you would approach any other man. So at the same time, like, I think sometimes people get intimidated when they're dealing with men who make a lot of money, and they're like, oh, like, how do I have to act and stuff like that. Still have what you want, still have, you know, be pretty, like, be yourself as a woman, how you are. That feminine attribute about you, the way that you are, the what feminine things you like to do, keep that, because that's what's gonna get him to like really like you. Like, it's those random things that people don't even think about, like, especially women. Like, my husband, he told me like, oh, I love that you will sing in the shower. Or he's like, oh, I love, like, I was literally like dyeing my eyebrows. And he's like, and he walked in home, he came home, and then he walked in the bathroom, and I was like literally like tinting my eyebrows. And he was like, I love how much you like take care and of yourself, and like you make yourself so beautiful. Like, it's the random things of femininity that men like start to like you for. So keep your femininity. That's like the number one thing. And then the rest of it, you can definitely check that in my videos, because I go into more depth about it. And I think like majority of my videos are about that. But yeah, if you're a professional woman too, don't approach it from a professional way. Approach it from a feminine way. So, you know, don't lead with your profession, because essentially men don't really care about your profession unless you are, you know, unless you are coming in with your money. I would not come in talking about profession at all. And let him lead with profession. You lead with your femininity and have fun. That's the number one thing when you're dating. And if you haven't dated in a long time, have fun. This is why I tell you ladies, don't go on coffee dates, because coffee dates are not fun. When I go on a date, I want it to be fun. I want to be dressed up. I want to look good. I want to be at a nice place. I want to have good atmosphere. I want beautiful people there. I want to be at a restaurant I wanted to go to or wanted to check out, or that I know is great. I want the experience. I want the waiter to look at me and say, oh my God, she's so beautiful. I want everybody to be like, yes, girl, you look amazing. You feel good. This is fun. The vibes are good. Have fun. This is not, dating is not for you to be boring and sit down in front of somebody at a coffee shop saying, what are you looking for? That is so boring. That is not fun. And that is not how you date. So that's my advice on that. But definitely check out my videos. I would love to see you make a video about feminine savage advice. I mean, yeah, I can do that too. I mean, feminine savage advice, like in a nutshell, is just like being unapologetic about everything that you do as a feminine woman. Like I said, my mom is like the key to that, because like she doesn't care if it's an inconvenience to you. That's just what it is. That's just what it is. And that's like the main thing with women, is like, that's just this whole thing. Like, it's so funny because it's like, even to the detriment, like with my husband, like when we travel, I'll have my bag, I'll have my suitcase, I'll have my purse, right? And then I'll have my jacket or whatever. And he has his bag, he'll have his computer bag, and then he'll have his suitcase, right? And once we check in our stuff, our luggage, and we're walking, sometimes I just really don't want to hold my actual carry, my bag, and I'll just hand it to him. And he's just holding it. Or like when we were checking in the stuff, I just give him my stuff, and he's like holding a bunch of stuff and going to handle it. And it's like, and like, even for him, he's like, if we have little girls, like, I'm just gonna be here holding all the bags, and y'all are just gonna la-di-da-di-da about your life, like doing what you want no matter what. And that's like real feminine savage energy, is when you're saying, you know what, this is what I am, this is what I'm about, in your femininity, and being unapologetic about it. And that's all you need to be, because essentially men respect that, and they like that the same way you like if a man is unapologetically masculine, right? So it's that same thing. If a guy is like with my husband, he's like, doesn't give a F about certain things, like I'm all about hair, makeup, like I can watch
fashion, hair, makeup all day. Like, I'll sit on YouTube and I can watch that. I can watch homemaking videos. I can watch so many things. And he's just like, I don't give a F about any of that. Like, not interested. Like, I'm sitting here watching like house hunters and stuff like that, and he's just like, I don't care. Like, he's finance, his business, you know, sometimes he cares about sports, he thinks about his hobbies, but like, that's like it, right? He's not so much into like essentially what I'm into, unless I'm watching a good show or something and he's like, ooh, what's that? Like, but being unapologetic is the best advice about feminine savage energy, is like unapologetically who you are and what you want as a feminine woman. So that's about it. All right, ladies, I'm gonna head out. I'm gonna go before they wrap up. So thank you so much for hanging out with me this morning. Wait, what time is it? It's about 10:20. No, 10:12. So yeah, it's pretty early, but thank you so much for being here. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, watch the other videos, and I will hopefully be back on here next week. So yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.